Question though, how are you putting out higher numbers than some of the Unbridled guys I've watched? Walking Arsenals. Oh, okay. First off, Walking Arsenal isn't 45%. That was a mistake I made in the very first video I did. I've since learned that the way Walking Arsenal is calculated is completely multiplicative, right? It's 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.15, and that actually gives you 53%. Now, as for, I don't think I put out higher numbers. Maybe I put out numbers that are close to Unbridled Rage, but the reason why Walking Arsenal is close to Unbridled Rage is because one is multiplicative, one is additive. Okay, you know what? Wait, I take that back. If folks don't understand the context behind what I just said, it's going to get me flamed. Okay, so if I unlearn this and I do Unbridled Rage, it was 26.2 before, now it's 196.7. So how Unbridled Rage works is it takes your core damage, it multiplies it by 2.35, and then it adds that value to 135%. So what I meant when I said one was additive and one was multiplicative is Walking Arsenal, this is completely multiplicative. This one multiplies just the core damage, and this stat itself is additive with everything else. You know what? This is actually a good idea for a video. Let me see if I can let me see if I can set this up so that I can make it into a video. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can move this. Okay, so this is just, don't really bother too much about this. This is just a calculator a spreadsheet that I made for calculating my own stuff, but I think it's a good thing to use to illustrate why Walking Arsenal can actually come somewhat close to Unbridled Rage. I don't want to make it too complicated, so I'm just going to copy this. So we're only going to use this, and let me paste it twice. So let's just assume these are the column on the left. These are our stats. So this is Walking Arsenal stats. So these are all individual multipliers, right? The formula is always 1 plus the percent. So if we actually change this figure to a number, we would see the multiplier. And then we can do a total. Okay, strength. Oh, I kind of screwed that up because I had values that were right. Okay, so that should give me, okay, so this number below, this is just a total multiplier. So if I did 1,000 damage, my final damage would be 1,000 multiplied by this. Let me just kind of shrink it down a little bit. Okay, so this is the final multiplier. Now this is for Walking Arsenal, okay? On the right, I'm going to try to illustrate how it would look like if we were using Unbridled Rage. And how we're going to do that is I'm just going to take, because I don't really have that much other stuff on my gear other than close. So if I was to switch to Unbridled Rage, you want to have as much damage to core skills as possible, damage with core skills as possible. So just to make the calculation real easy and simple, I am going to convert all my close damage. So my close damage is 208.4%. I'm just going to put that to 0. And I'm going to convert that to core damage and try to simulate what it would look like if I had Unbridled Rage. Now remember, damage versus close rolls higher in its own slot than core damage can. I believe core damage goes up to... Alright, damage to close goes up to 70.5%. So it's 58.5% versus 70.5. So what we need to do now, if we just go back to this, if I was to convert all my damage versus close right now into core damage, I would get 172.93% damage with core skills. The next thing we need to do is actually convert it again, because now we're turning on Unbridled Rage. So how we do this is we take this value, we multiply it by 2.35. Why? Because it's 1 plus 135%. That's how it's calculated, right? And if we convert this to a percent, we have 406%. Now we need to add 135% to this number. And this is the final percentage. Let me just shrink it a little bit. 541.38. And that's how much we're going to key in here. Okay, we convert this to a normal number so that we can see the multiplier. So if we take a look, the difference, right? Oh, wait, we have to set this to 0. And strength is 119.5. Okay, so we wouldn't have anything. This is a multiplier of 1 because no walking arsenal. Okay, everything else is the same. Crit hit damage is the same. Vulnerable damage is the same. Berserking is the same. But the only difference right now is this. So I had an 8.73 multiplier from all the additive sources before. With Unbridled Rage, it's now 12.06. Now, if we took a total, we have 868. Let me shrink that down a bit. This is a total multiplier I get. I actually get a higher multiplier using Walking Arsenal. I mean, of course, it's not quite so simple as this. There are other multipliers, and this is really just converting this to core damage, core skill damage. That's just an oversimplification. Typically, I would say that Unbridled Rage does do a little bit more damage than Walking Arsenal. But if the numbers are close and that's what you are wondering, this is why. Right? Because one is multiplying an additive stat, one is an actual multiplier. All right, so I hope that kind of clears things up.